Finally, this guy's poor excuse of the review is over. Heck, I knew he was going to run out of thumbnails eventually, but Jesus, as if the thumbnails and bullshit review was bad enough, but an hour-long video. God forbid this guy see Subhuman Sanctum, or any other below-average comic, otherwise I think he would literally commit suicide, as if that would be considered a bad thing.
You're just not the booze of me, you waiter.
Possibilities. Boring. The fuck is wrong with you? You want a boring comic, then go read Mary Head. All you haters need to go stick your head in a fucking wood chipper.
Can you please stop randomly screaming at the top of your lungs like a fucking bitch? It makes you look fathoms worse, less mature and uncultured than anything in Las Lindas. Shut your fucking mouth. The way that you talk about punching people in their face, yeah okay dude, shout at someone like that to their face, the way you do on your webcam, and see how many teeth you can spit up before you lose consciousness.
Hey bitch, you got a problem with furries or something? Seriously, the title screens you make are just fucking cruel and crude. I have always loved the furry people. Okay, you know what, we all have our own opinions on stuff, but seriously, why the title screens? Las Lindas is awesome, furries are awesome, and you suck. You know nothing about comics. I mean, I know you obviously hate this webcomic, but we don't need to know that. No one cares about your oh-so-great knowledge on comics. Get a fucking life, dude. The whole Las Lindas crew knows miles more, all of them would fuck you up if they saw this. I would. Let's see if you can make a better comic, you comic-reading cocksucking, fried vagina spider-looking bitch. You hear me, you son of a bitch, fuck you.
You know, there's something to be said about creators taking feedback, especially when there's people like me who typically come across as loud and obnoxious. Like, I'll call you a bitch and still respect you, and not a lot of people seem to get that. I have a very, shall we say, less than exotic way of stating my dislike for something, and people like to think I'm just an aggressive fanboy who's butthurt over something. Like, can you believe that one of the reviews I've gotten the most negative backlash from is my house pets review? Even Rick Griffin himself more or less only took the criticism of the characters page to heart. There's creators like Andrew Dobson, who I said wouldn't take any of my criticism to heart even if it's not outright attacking his person, and he proved a comedically type of predictability when he openly completely disregarded the video. There's Chuckle Fox like Leoyan, who tried to take my video down twice and thus engaged the Streisand effect on it, and even Soul Cat and It Fox has agreed that some of my statements were on point. There's also super champs like Philip Brown, who even if I chewed out his comic was still man enough to join me in doing so and defend himself, which he'll forever have my respect for. And of course now here is Master Godai, and he too is actually being a complete boss with my videos, even if the latest one really went in on the comic and also kinda on him as an author. And I respect that, even if, you know, he'll kinda disregard it afterwards. A little flip-flopping there, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, just keep in mind, I hold a lot of respect for the creators who can sit through my videos and still come out on the other side, taking the feedback with their head held high. And the reason why I'm stating that in this video is because I think it's abundantly clear that Rascals is objectively not a good comic. A comic needs to have stuff happening, there needs to be cause and effect, there needs to be a meaning to the madness, and thus far, over 150 pages deep I might add, All that has happened is that Quick and Chrissy hooked up, broke up, and hooked back up again. The comic has also done a great job in establishing that Quick has no spine, Chrissy is a huge cunt, and Godai doesn't know how long the two of them have been dating, as he stated before that they've been together for 2 years. I actually looked back on it because I kind of wanted to give Godai the benefit of the doubt. And I actually think it's a mistake. I actually think that Quick is supposed to be saying it's been 2 months in the making, not 2 years in the making. But then it's just not that grand. 2 months. People have had a crush on Earth-chan for longer than that, for crying out loud. When we last left off on Rascals, I had severely lost my temper on setting up a lot of drama, and Godai then decided to say fuck it and just skip along like nothing happened. We return to Rascals, where this chick is out roller skating, I think, and she bumps into Sky Rocks. Seriously? That's his... Seriously? I mean... Fuck it. So the girl is on cloud 9 because Sky is apparently a big deal, despite no one has really paid that much attention to him up to now, despite there having been plenty of occasions where he's been out in public. Anyway, the girl wants Sky to sign her boobs. Yes, boobs. The way a 14-year-old writes boobs. And why her boobs? Why not on her backpack? Surely the ink's gonna come off your fur if you shower. Do you not have fur on your boobs? If not, why are they the same color as your fur? I'm thinking too much about this again, aren't I? So the girl is puzzled why Reiko signed her boobs too, but stops herself to comment on how big Reiko's tits are. Reiko say if the girl plays her cards right, she can get a free grope. Screw it! Every time from now on that Reiko is acting like this, I'm going to show that scene where she's worried that Sky will leave her and put it on screen. Because it's really dumb when put into that context. So the girl asks them out for coffee, but Reiko says if the girl can pass her test of endurance, then they can spend the whole afternoon together with a wink. Ugh. Cut to Quick and Chrissy talking about Cody and their relationship, and I swear to God you are not ready for this. I sure wasn't. It turns out that Cody was the coolest guy ever, but then his dad won the lottery and everyone wanted to be friends with him, and he started showering Chrissy with gifts. I want you guys to remember something. Chrissy got super pissed at Quick for keeping it a secret that he was a millionaire. She did this despite having first-hand witnessed what would happen if someone is a millionaire and everyone and their mother wants to befriend them in the hopes they'll get some of that money. How in the holy name of Joe Pesci does this make sense? Anyway, obviously Chrissy trips over the trope I hate so goddamn much, which is that she happens to trip over Cody fucking some girl. And I'm like, how come no one ever locks their freaking doors? Like, yes, Cody cheating on Chrissy is terrible, I'm not denying that. But I can't even take a piss without making triple sure that the door is locked. And Cody's out there cheating on his girlfriend and doesn't for a moment think to lock the door? Anyway, they break up and Cody begs for Chrissy to come back, or at the very least join a family reunion thingy that Chrissy decides to go along with. We then see, oh, hi protagonist, how's your sex life? Okay, let's see. Heterochromia iridium, check. Red hair, I wonder if there's a connection, check. Mother humping red scar pattern thingy over one eye, check. Busty and brawny, check. And already from the first frame we can see she's a cop partnered up with some ditzy chick. Who the fuck designed this character, Nomura? Anyway, turns out this chick is called Lisa. With a Z. Cause you know, she didn't stand out enough before. Is a cop and her friend Rally, who for some strange reason is squeezing herself together as if the space she's physically in is as big as the frame she's in for some reason. Anyway, it turns out that Cody invited Chrissy over so she could fuck his friend, cause let me remind you, in these comics the only thing that matter are sex and money. Safe to say, Chrissy doesn't want to be a part of that and decides to bail, but Cody grabs her. Cody is slapped and he then backhands Chrissy saying he owns her. Now, I get it, okay? You're showing someone who's been intoxicated by money, but just how much money did his dad win again? And remember, it's Cody's dad, not Cody who won the money. For you to completely derail like this, you'll have to have lived in an environment in which you can buy your way into and out of everything for at least a year or two. And here Cody's going full on supervillain. And then Lisa shows up just in time to see Chrissy getting slapped, and she then apparently mounts Cody and gives him a smackdown of a lifetime, losing her badge and job in the process. No, of course that doesn't happen. Because that would make sense. Cause drama. Have stuff happening. And we can't very well fucking have that now, can we? After the flashback ends, Chrissy yet again breaks up with Quick, hoping that he'll wait for her to be ready for another relationship. It then turns into nighttime for some reason, and Reiko comes up with the girl from earlier. Sorry you had to find out this way, see? But I got tired of waiting for you to let me jump your bones. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Quick pieces out and Reiko can immediately tell that something is wrong, so Chrissy has to spill the beans to Reiko. Why is it their relationship can't just be private between these two? Anyway, after spilling the beans to Reiko as well, again, not touching on why Cody's obsessed with tracking Chrissy down wherever she goes, and you won't see him again by the way, just wanna throw that out there. Reiko is angry with Chrissy for putting Quick in the friend zone. Okay, this needs to be said and it might as well be from me. Stop bitching about the friend zone. Look, various situations can lead to you being put in the friend zone, but the most common one is simply that the partner isn't into you and they wanna let you down nicely. They're not necessarily trying to lead you by the nose or anything. They just don't have it in themselves to tell you they are not romantically interested in you. It's the same when a couple wants to go on a break. It's mostly just cause neither of them wants to say they wanna break up cause they still like the other person enough to not wanting to shoot them down with the too blunt words and phrasings. Also, being put in the friend zone is really not that bad. I've been in the friend zone before. I've also put some friends in the friend zone before. I'll admit that. But at the same time, my two latest relationships happened even after the girl put me in the friend zone. It means nothing. So can people just please stop making such a big deal out of the friend zone? It sucks the person isn't interested in you, sure. But at least they still wanna be your friend. I'm sorry, I just have a lot of bile for that term. Back to the matter at hand, Reiko and Chrissy are talking about Quick, cause fuck what the tits with a furry hanging off of it feels. It's all about Quick. After all, like Reiko says, he's a coiti. Yes, he's a small town in Brazil. Nothing gets a girl wet like a small little town in the middle of Brazil. I wrote this joke and I'm regretting it already. It turns out that Raven was listening in on the whole thing and is now, in true villainous fashion, stating how Quick is fair game for her to pursue and even says, face is set to moist. Again, Godai can't write a story to save his own life, but these terms are freaking gold. It doesn't, however, make a lot of sense that Raven is like, oh, now Quick is free game, when she didn't have any problem with macking on him, knowing fully well he was with Chrissy. Chrissy states her disbelief that Raven thinks Quick will be interested in her after she tried to jump his bones. Are you two talking about the same Quick here? Cause the dude's shown little to no other interest than getting his dick wet. Speaking of dicks, we move on to Quick at the police station where he's picking up Raven, who got thrown in jail for fighting Cody. They don't, talk about Cody, what he said on the phone, or even how the fight went. Instead, they talk about how Quick and Chrissy are on a break. And then this chapter ends with Raven telling Quick how Lizda, the super protagonist cop chick, took Cody away for some more beatings, And while I could comment on police brutality and make a joke about that, let me just direct your attention to this little sign here. Now, it doesn't take a genius, does it? Las Lindas, 3 miles away. Which means we now have to apply all the knowledge that we have from Las Lindas' world and apply it to this world. So, with that said, does this also take place on the planet, country, continent, prism, or is this a different continent, country, world thingy? Anyway, the next chapter begins with Jasmine in the shower. Let's skip that. And she ends up on the phone with her mother, who wants grandchildren and is basically asking her daughter to start getting some dick. What, her mother's fucking Mora? What's going on here? Anyway, she goes to Riley's bar and forever farm for worm pum worm. Anyway, she goes there and Reiko and Sky are hosting a party for Quick to raise his spirits after being put in the friend zone. Here, while in mid-sentence, Jasmine becomes drunk, and I mean it's like a snap of a finger. She asks why Quick's mopey, Reiko replies with a single sentence, and Jasmine's next reply, she is so shit-faced, she's slurring her words and has that drunk blush on her cheeks. Have you never had alcohol before, my dude? That's not how it works. But then again, this is the same dude who thinks going outside and drinking a bottle of water will immediately 100% sober you up. If anything, the going outside part will sucker kick your drunkenness to the next level if you're this far gone. And sure enough, here Jasmine decides to pop the question on Gary Stu the Third here, whether or not he wants to date her. Quick declines and they go back to the bar where Reiko is knee deep in a game of Strip Twister and she wants Quick to join cause she's about to lose. Maybe I'm just not young or cool and hip anymore. Maybe I never was. But does people really find this loser girl attractive? I mean, fucking her would be like throwing a sausage into a slightly moist boxing gym riddled with diseases. So Quick and Jasmine leave, and because subtlety isn't a term known in Prism, Jasmine decides to kiss Quick right then and there and asks if he wants to come in that obvious "Hey, wanna fucking bang?" subtle way. Quick declines after the little lizard thingy pops up and distracts them, leaving Jasmine to that night dream of a Fabio-esque Quick coming to bang her. And that's the end of the chapter. I'll admit that while this is terribly written, and by God is it terribly written, at least now we're going somewhere. Kinda. Sorta. Maybe. The next chapter is a scene from a porno. No, seriously. It has 276,201 views, a 76% like score, and you can find it on Pornhub if you search for kissing practice. Basically, Leona has to do a scene from a movie in which she makes out with a girl, and so she comes to Chrissy to practice. While practicing, Reiko's slut alert rings and she stumbles into Chrissy's room with the intent of watching them and then join. And obviously, Quick comes in and passes out cause anime. When he wakes up, Sky joins in and so does Leona's bodyguard Slick Nick, who's just here now. And apparently he knows Reiko. And he knows Reiko to such an extent that she's super bashful all of a sudden and decides to quickly leave after meeting him. Despite Chrissy straight up begging and yelling at Nick to find out how he made Jasmine leave and what their relationship were, Nick is more interested in talking to Leona, who he then explains to that he knew Reiko and Sky from back in the academy days and that Reiko apparently still blames herself for using some sort of forbidden technique. This is foreshadowing for something that if you had told me this was going to happen and I hadn't seen the pictures prior to you telling me that, there is not a snowball's chance in hell that I would believe you. Because it is so dumb. Like, not because it's so big, epic, and cool, and blah, wah, and stuff like that, but because it's such a drastic change in tone. I have never seen anything quite like that since Tim Buckley decided to make Lost. Lost, what does it go? Lost? Okay. Since he made Lost. Think about that. So Chrissy enters the room again. Despite we never saw anyone, not even Reiko, exit the room, and she stumbles onto Leona and Nick making out. Nick asks why it's so important they keep it a secret, and Leona states that she doesn't want to take any chances when both their careers are on the line. Thank you! Oh my god! Suck it, Les Linders. Also, Nick can turn into a Cyclops. Apparently. Anyway, the next day Raven drops by Chrissy to gloat that she's having a date with Quick, but it turns out that Quick misunderstood and they're instead going to a Fight Fighter 4 tournament and wants Raven to bring her own controller.
I'll bet you anything that Raven mains Blanca and Quick mains T-Hawk, and they're both like these super obnoxious Smash players that complains about CRTs and busted controllers and doesn't know that showers combos into soap which results in nuts smelling like ass. Yes, I'll admit that joke was strictly for me.
Anyway, the chapter ends with Reiko groping Chrissy's boobs. The next chapter begins at the Fight Fighter 4 tournament where Mihari wins and... okay, we get it. We really do. Mihari is another artist and writer at the Catbox, and it's cute and all involving her as a small little Easter egg here and there. But this is fucking every other page now. She's the Fight Fighter champion. Chrissy was playing her in tennis. She was putzing around outside when Jasmine was walking. Like, I know subtlety isn't a word in you guys' vocabulary, but it's only really a cameo if she's not being forced down our throat. Anyway, the gang is all here and Jasmine is making fun of how absurd Mai's costume is because no Kunoichi would wear that ridiculous outfit. It feels really dumb when you make the mistake too. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Also, that's Mai. If they're playing Fight Fighter 4, which is obviously Street Fighter 4, Mai's not in that. She's in King of Fighters.
Hey, fighting games are my jam. I get nitpicky.
It turns out that the chick with the boob katana from the beach is now here to settle the score with Reiko and Jasmine. Reiko takes her on, but before the chick can draw her weapon, Reiko's already robbed her of her katana and bra, which makes all the nerds flock around the girl, to which she screams, "Get away, you geeks! You reek of sweat and cheese!"
So what, this is a Smash Melee tournament now?
Quick and Raven make it to the finals of the tournament. Oh, right, the ninjas just dealt with now, by the way. Don't ask me how. Anyway, they go to the hot springs because Leona has some passes to the hot spring resort. And this more than anything proves to me that this comic has ADHD. You literally, on the same page, state that they are in the finals and they just decide to go to the hot springs. You didn't finish the tournament story arc, you just threw that to the side because something new came up. I swear this is like watching the mad ramblings of a child but with art attached to it.
And then they go to the Street Fighter tournament, and then a ninja shows up, and then the other ninja fights the ninja, and then they go to the finals, and then they go to the hot wings, and then Reiko shows her tits some more, and...
Like fucking hell, dude. Okay, so they go to the hot spring, and like literally every anime ever, the guys want to see the girls on the other side of the fence. But Reiko is the first to jump the fence because she wants to see some dick. So they throw Quick over the fence. Quick gets slapped, Jasmine apologizes for kissing Quick, then says he'll do it for real sometime, Raven throws Chrissy an olive branch, Reiko catches Leona and Nick getting handsy, and then Leona wants Reiko to tell her about their past relationship. Are you seeing how fast you can go through this comic's pages, cause nothing of importance really happens. Anyway, Reiko starts to give some backstory, and it is as retarded as you would think. Apparently, Reiko was fooled into believing that Sky and Nick, who was her friend with benefits back then, because remember, girls can't be friends with guys unless sex is involved, were dead. And so she turned Super Saiyan, yes, really, broke Nick's arm, and had to have her power sealed away. Couldn't you just fucking call them?
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Okay, you guys need to check this stuff out real quick. So, oh, that backstory thing that kind of came out of nowhere? That's all you get, who gives a fuck. Now, let's talk about Quick, our Lord and Savior.
So, I made a claim in my last Rascals video, and people might think I was being, say, a little too mean. And I can respect that. What I said was that Quick was a self-insert, and I based it on the fact that Quick is always right. Everything this fuckhead does is the right thing, and every time he does something stupid, it's typically due to the people around him pushing him. Well, never has this statement been more right than it is now. Cause fuck me purple, this is some juicy shit. So, Quick talks with Raven and Sky and they convince him to stop waiting for Chrissy, despite him promising Chrissy he'd wait for her. So what he'll do is that he'll go to Jasmine and ask her on a date, and he outright says how he won't give a shit if Chrissy watches. There's not a single mention of, talking with Chrissy, explaining his thoughts and feelings to her. No, he's straight up gonna go ask a girl on a date right in front of her. Douchebag move, right? Okay, so Chrissy hears this, and Quick and her have a talk where Chrissy explains that, well, maybe going on a break was not the best idea after all. Quick more or less tells her to get out of his way, and lo and behold, the one apologizing about everything is Chrissy. Now, I made it very clear in my latest video that I thought that Chrissy was a but she is not the one who has to apologize here. Quick is. But of course, Quick is the perfect demigod of a man that he is, and he has to be the one doing the right thing. And as of such, it is she that must apologize to him.
Like, I'm not wrong here, am I? What Quick was about to do was super shitty. Yet, Godai thinks that Chrissy is the one who should apologize, I assume, because that's how he writes it. I mean, dude, what?
This is so fucking dumb and backwards, I don't even know how to properly convey in how many ways this is retarded. So I won't. And instead I'll just skip along to Quick's sister Jen popping out of nowhere to ruin the mood. And I swear to God, you could use the next 2 pages in a criminal court as evidence of someone having a really disturbing mentality about the female sex. Cause it's just all fucking sex. Hey, there's this girl here, bet you fucked them. Hey, these girls, have they ridden your dick yet? Hey, Sky, I have the softest ass in the world. Hey, Quick, which girl's your main squeeze? And do you have the others cook your dinner by slapping them on the ass? Hey, Jin, you have some nice tits. Isn't Sky just dreamy when he fucks you up against the wall? Oh yeah, I love it when he pulls my hair when I ride his dick. Oh, you can't possibly let him go once you've first been fucked by him. Like, I feel it's time for me to just use this clip again.
That you're just the container I shoot it into.
So, Quick's mom and dad shows up and are mad at Quick for spending money on shit he shouldn't be spending money on. So they end his paying cards and tell him he has to find a job so he can sustain himself through college. Afterwards, Quick introduces Chrissy as the woman he loves. You know, the girl he was gonna dump less than a fucking minute ago. The one he didn't care if she watched him pick up another woman. Scoot the fuck over, Romeo and Juliet, a new true romance is in town. But whoops, it was all a daydream, even if we don't know when the dream began and what happened in between, but whatever. Quick's dad has in the meantime set Quick up for a job interview and he wants Quick to show up for a meeting the next weekend. That's when Quick's mom uses her sex appeal to trick Quick's dad to go and get the car running. You couldn't just fucking ask him? Appeal to his sense of parenting? His common sense? You have to use sex? And of course she then goes on a little monologue to Quick about how she knows how to handle his dad.
There is not a single, solitary, fucking female character in this comic that hasn't been put into this comic for the sake of either having sex, being in a relationship, or look sexy. Not fucking one.
I mean, fuck's sake. Of course Jen's a model too, cause a girl's just her body, am I right? Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, I did probably the most balls to the wall research I've ever done on this show. In my Yosh review, I said that all the girls were nothing but roles or something for the reader to get the rocks off to. Basically, treating women like objects. And I can understand that's a big statement to throw out there, so I wanted to do it again. But this time, be backed up by actual hard evidence. So I decided to be more than fair and started counting. The rules were simple. I'd count every voice or thought bubble the women have that's more than 3 words, so, a sentence. I would then count how many of those bubbles were about guys, sex, relationship stuff, or being said while something was needlessly sexy, while the thing was being said. This means I didn't count when things were just needlessly sexy, and I didn't count if there was just a lot of cleavage or anything either. I wouldn't count a voice bubble if it wasn't directly referencing a guy or being in a relationship with a guy. In the spirit of being fair, the sex also had to be explicit and unquestionable. When done reading, I had read the full thing to comic 427. I didn't count the fan servicey fillers or guest comics or Patreon pieces or anything, just the comic pages. Feel free to take bets on how big a percentage of all the women's dialogue was focused around men, being with men, or being sexy while talking. Was it 10%, 20%, 30%, a whopping 40%? When done, I had counted 2,379 bubbles. Of these, I had counted 1,290 bad bubbles. That is, ladies and gentlemen, a whopping 54% of all the women's dialogue. Over half of this dialogue is these girls focusing entirely on men and being in a relationship with them.
And that's completely ignoring the needlessly sexy looks, like how the girls are just limited to wearing bodysuits, tank tops, 2 sizes too small t-shirts, and hot pants. Now, aren't you happy we didn't do a drinking game like we did with Las Lindas? I mean, if we did, you would be fucking dead. But guess what? We went even fucking deeper than that.
So I figured, in the spirit of doing this even more fairly, we would do the same thing with the guys. Same rules, same system. In the same spirit, I had a girl do this for me, so there wasn't any conflict of interest. The numbers were that out of a grand total of 1,007 bubbles, only 402 were bad bubbles. That's 39%. So a whopping 15% less than the ladies, and that's from less than half the amount of bubbles. The numbers also came with a quote. I noticed that the male characters didn't really get sexualized all that much. Tiger Fuck was shirtless a couple of times during his fight and shit, but there was only a tiny microscopic number of times the male characters were sexualized versus the constant assault of cleavage, boob wiggle, and exposed thong bands on every single page. Furthermore, as the series went on and the stories got a little more quote-unquote mature, not counting that stupid fucking Naruto shit at the end, male characters were all sorted, reduced to 2 main modes. Either quiet, not saying much, only there to be the butt of some sexual joke by way of getting horny over the girls, or they were some perfect emotionally in touch Mary Sue. I hate to say it, but out of all the male characters, the only ones to stand out and be even the slightest bit different from the others was the obvious boyfriend and Tiger Fuck, if only cause he was a creepy rapey sack of shit half the time.
Now, I'm not doing any white knighting here or any social justice warrior shit, cause honestly I don't really care, and it's like, obviously I have my own opinions on the matter, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, I don't do politics, I review webcomics. I'm just doing the math here so I can tell you guys without a shadow of doubt that these are objectively not characters. These are simply things for the male characters to be in a relationship with or stick their dicks inside. Nothing more than that. Congratulations, Godai, you spent more than 400 pages failing something that an amateur porno can do in less than 10 minutes.
Anyway, Chrissy tells Jasmine that Quick and Chrissy are back together again, and obviously Jasmine isn't too keen on that. Jen wants to still bang Sky, but Reiko will only let that happen if she can join in, to which Jen replies, "You would screw just about anything, wouldn't you?" And Reiko replies, "You figured me out."
Well, at least there's no doubt.
It's time for the tournament finals in Fight Fighter 4. The day after Top 8. The doesn't make any sense. And who's coming from the losers bracket? Why are they a team of 3 against a single player? Well, I suppose if they got 3 fighters, they are actually playing King of Fighters. But then Chrissy picks Dan Hibiki from Street Fighter, who's considered the worst fighter ever. Yeah, well, they said the same thing about Hakan, and look at Infiltration doing magic with him. Well, I care too much about this shit. And it's a team battle now? What? How does this game work? Is it like Anarchy Reigns now? I give up. So, Quick drives Jasmine to her mother's place, cause apparently Jasmine's mother is here now, and when there they bump into Quick's parents, who thinks that Quick and Jasmine are a couple. Also, their mother no longer has that scar on her waist that she was shown to have before. Jasmine and Quick's mothers, of course, immediately start talking about Quick and Jasmine fucking, cause let's not forget, this is an entire world centered around getting and giving dick. Anyway, blah blah blah, we didn't get to see the job interview. The meeting that was in a week was actually the next day. Quick legit has feelings for Jasmine out of nowhere, but stays with Chrissy. And chapter end. I can, no shit, skip through this comic like this and you won't be missing a single solitary important thing. Not one, I swear to God. Okay, so the next page is Leona being sick, and again, cause it has to be linked to sex, there's the thought that she might be pregnant. After getting some lunch, they bump into Quick outside, who is on his way to a job interview, and that's when this guy, the teacher dude, comes up and straight up antagonizes Quick. Gone are the subtle jabs and the flexing to seem better than Quick, like the motherfucker was Riiser-Akuma, and now he's just straight up going,
words of wisdom. Drop that 0 and get with the hero.
So Chrissy and Leona are off to get a pregnancy test, while Quick is left with the teacher, who are bickering like a couple of grade schoolers until Jen shows up and the teacher is all over her. Jen, however, seems more focused on commenting on Quick having managed to tie his knot correctly.
Wow, yeah, great job, Quick. You managed to tie a Winstar on a single-colored kipper wearing a white shirt and no jacket. Tacky.
So they go to downtown and bump into Sesame from UberQuest. Why? How? Like, I won't lie, it's a cute cameo, but she's kinda front and center here. The more in your face it is, the less of a cameo it is. It's the difference between having Bruce Willis in a movie making an offhand comment about Nakatomi Plaza and having Bruce Willis literally being John McClane. Be that as it may, we jump back to Leona and Chrissy, who are visiting Raven in the library because she doesn't know how to find out if Leona is pregnant. No, seriously. The act of getting a pregnancy test is so alien to these guys that they need to ask for guidance. But because of her really weird craving for food, they can conclude that she is indeed pregnant. We move back to Quick, who's at the place of the job interview, but it turns out that he's already hired because his sister is the director, who's also a model. Don't ask me how this makes sense, cause I don't know. We move back to Leona, Raven and Chrissy, where Leona is saying how odd it was for Raven and Chrissy to think she was pregnant just because she had weird food cravings. To be fair, thinking you're pregnant, which you also thought, due to morning sickness, that typically first shows up 6 weeks into the pregnancy and 2 weeks after your first missed period, is also pretty stupid. So let's see, just out of curiosity, what can we skip? I'm just gonna call kinda sorta important things out as they happen and stop when I hit something of substance. Reiko gets a job at the modeling company. Leona is actually pregnant. Sky fights some chick in a wrestling match that talks more than John Cena.
Credit to the World Heavyweight Champions for making him look that way. And here comes Cena, and again Del Rio, German suplex!
Reiko literally fucks the girl with Sky knowing. Godai shows just how similar his guys and girls look. The wrestling chick says Reiko has brains without laughing. There's this page where Reiko just looks wrong. Jasmine and Quick go training in the mountains. Someone comes on to Chrissy. And that's all that happens for 60 fucking pages. We'll skip along more, but I just need to address this scene here, cause it's so fucking tone deaf It makes me think of Logan Paul filming a dead body in the suicide forest.
Just gonna timestamp the video right here.
Okay, so Chrissy is home with her parents and her mom calls her because one of Chrissy's old friends has shown up. For context, it was the one chick Cody was cheating on her with. Not that it matters, but there you go. Chrissy's mom, who's built like a fucking shit brick house for some reason, tells Chrissy that the girl in question, Amanda, has shown up with a horrible bruise. I'm gonna cut the bullshit here and go straight into it. Amanda is being beat up by her drunk mother at home. Okay, so why would Amanda come to Chrissy for help? They met earlier where she antagonized Chris like her life depended on it, and they already had bad blood before that. Does she really not have any other friends? Really? But the biggest issue is, I think we can all agree that violence in the home is a serious bad thing. Being beaten by your own goddamn mother, who's drunk, isn't something that should be handled haphazardly. It's a horrible thing, especially because it's the home where you should be the most safe. And with your parents, you should find the safest shelter, and there's this breach of that, this betrayal of safety, love and comfort. And this is how Godai decided to handle the reveal, with Chrissy reacting in the exact same way she'd do if Amanda flashed her tits. There's even the little anime droplet for comedic effect. This is a serious, poignant moment, and Godai chooses to handle it like this.
Haha, lol, you get beaten at home by your mother? Run for mouth, you faggot!
So, my dearest lovely viewer, who I am sure have gotten an idea on how these types of comics handle serious touchy shit. How, oh how, do you think the girls deal with this problem? Do they, say, talk about it? Have a little heart-to-heart? We get to know Amanda as a character and the struggle she's been through. People who've been in the same terrible situation as her can look to her for guidance on how to overcome the struggle of horrible parental neglect. Or, you know, they just kinda don't touch the thing at all and immediately start talking about sex. Cause they do actually not touch the thing at all and immediately start talking about sex.
I'm trying so hard not to call anyone any names, because this is so careless and offensive that I am actually really upset.
Skipping quickly along before I say something I cannot take back, the girls then go out to watch some male strippers at Los Lindos, which I admit is pretty funny, cause it's all the girls from Los Lindos but as super ripped dudes. It does, however, yet again prove how similar Godai's male and female faces look. Like, this is literally just Mora's head on a male body, it's ridiculous. Anyway, Chrissy and Jasmine talk about how they both have feelings for Quick. Raven decides she wants Quick again. We find out that Sonny from Las Lindas is the cousin of Nick, this schmuck. Godai steals a joke from Zootopia, then one from Predator, then Leona has a pair of twins, the crew graduates, and Sky and Reiko breaks up.
What a twist! And that's another 60 pages! It is unfathomable how fast you can skip through this comic if you only focus on the things that actually matter.
Before we continue, there is something I want to point out. Now, I had a mouthful of bile when I saw that Godai was using slightly altered real-life photographs to make backgrounds or establishing shots. And when you see the backgrounds now, you know, when you're not distracted by boobs, you're likely to go, hey, Godai really improved. This looks really nice. And it does. One could even go as far as to say that it's done a dramatic improvement, and I really want to compliment Godai for doing such nice and pretty backgrounds. There is, however, a problem though. A tiny one. I promise. A little nitpicky thing, if you will. And that is that Godai didn't do these backgrounds. Like at all. He has in fact worked even less on these than he did with the slightly altered backgrounds earlier. And that is because, as pointed out by Agent Cheshire, who also states that this is like fine as long as you just alter it just a little. The backgrounds that Godai do are straight up clip studio assets. The trees in the background, boom. The forest you see here, bada bing. The sunny road here, bada boom. Every night sky the comic uses, kapow! Even the goddamn moon is part of the city background asset.
I'm fine with altering assets as long as you have the commercial right to do so, but you didn't even do that. You didn't manipulate these assets in any shape or form. Did you even mirror them? How lazy is that?
It turns out that the twist is actually that Sky and Reiko doesn't break up because Reiko can't function with about 18 different dicks inside of her at once, but because Sky wants to settle down with a family and Reiko doesn't. So a bunch of bullshit happens, and I'd be lying if I said this wasn't leaps and bounds better than Las Lindas, if only for the fact that actual drama happens. But before we finish off with this episode, there's one thing I wanna cover. So, while Reiko is being super mopey, for some odd reason, her friend Isabella, the chick who fought Sky in the wrestling match, wants to find out about the curse that Reiko has. Why now? She's weeping. If you wanted her to get out of her head, the girl was about to fall asleep. There's literally no reason to go do this now, and for some reason, Reiko is just able to lift this curse from herself and activate her Super Saiyan form.
I'm not making this shit up! This comic has reached critical mass!
So, this story, that thus far has been just one slap in the face of all women everywhere from start to finish, that has been focusing on relationships, sexual antics, and getting one's dick wet, set in the real, very, very realistic world, kinda, now, all of a sudden, it has straight up fantasy in it. The universe has been successfully established for over 400 pages, and all of a sudden, bam, Super Saiyan.
I swear, this is like watching Sex in the City, like a random episode, and all of a sudden Carrie is like looking over her Cosmopolitan and going, so, how about that Satsui no Hado? I can't, this is so stupid!
You think I'm exaggerating here, but we're full on going with sealing off powers from the 100%, sealing away a violent, murderous inner self, and talking about being able to feel each other's power levels. She even does the Goku punch. I've never ever seen anything like this. It's like Godai forgot what comic he was making. The rails are gone, cause now the train can fucking fly. Godai is quite literally ripping off the power levels from Dragon Ball Z, the sealing away from Naruto, the black and yellow eyes from Bleach. Fucking Ranma showed up earlier, and don't for a second think I didn't catch the wrapping around the chest. And then Reiko goes in full on beast mode like Asura from Asura's Wrath. Did Godai have a fucking stroke or something? And then, suddenly Isabella releases the Satsui no Hado and Nikali from Street Fighter V shows up. I mean, red long glowy hair and a beast yelling about devouring. Come the fuck on! And guess what? Now we are all caught up. So little shit happens in this comic that we are already caught all the way up in 3 episodes, and we catch up just as this clusterfuck is reaching its utmost critical mass and is ripping off all sorts of anime and Street Fighter.
And if that's the case, there's only one true way of ending this thing. Let's put this bitch in the fucking ground!
Die 1,000 deaths!
how about that snazzy new looking outro? It's not gonna look like that permanently. If I can, I will see about getting some graffiti or something done on that wall in the background. The wall is gonna stay. The sparks and all that, that was just to, you know, give the ending a little extra flair. I don't think I'll have that in the final product. Maybe it's a little distracting, I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts on it, please let me know. But yeah, that's really all new stuff. I think I don't really think that's that much new stuff to cover. So let's go into talking about the patrons who helped support in this episode. And unfortunately, the first one is a tragic one. We start out with Neo, who unfortunately, Neo's aunt passed away the other day. And as a special request, because his aunt was a very devout person, Neo would appreciate if anyone religious watching this would send some prayers her way and maybe take a moment of silence. My condolences goes out to you, my dude. Next up we have Nicholas Knudsen. Nicholas Knudsen wants me to push the YouTuber Fredrik Knudsen, no relation, who I personally subscribe to too. The guy makes some great documentary style videos on all sorts of internet oddities. They've done so on the video game company that I use some clips from in one of my videos, and all sorts of interesting stuff. So by all means, go check him out. Next up we have Amocin. Amocin is working on a comic called Druids. It's a mature themed fantasy comic in the world of Warcraft, and if you're interested in a more mature story from that world, go check it out. Hitori the artist. Hitori wants me to push his Patreon, which is exclusive for his webcomics and his sexy illustrations. He also has a new project he's dying to do with you guys' help, so by all means, go check him out. Nana Newcomb. Nana is working on a mature superhero comic known as Blackbird/Miss Murder Daughters of Haven. If you want a more adult theme and really thought-provoking superhero comic, Nana has you covered. Rojaru. Rojaru wants me to push a friend of his that is gathering funds to pay some vet bills for a super cute dog. The friend does commissions and all the money goes right to the GoFundMe. You will find a link in the description, so if you have any money to spare and want some cute, interesting commissions and help a cute dog, by all means go check it out. The Bonsai. The Bonsai wants me to push the YouTube channel called The Horror Show. He does some really good dramatic readings of various horror comics. Right now he's working on a personal horror favorite of mine, Uzumaki by Junji Ito, so check it out for some spooks. Jordan Burke. Jordan wants me to push our fellow fanfiction writer who's been making fanfiction for more than 10 years. He's just come back from a long hiatus to find that his fanbase has dwindled a lot during his absence. So let's try and see if we can fix that. Megan Smith. Megan is working on a webcomic called 8-World, which takes a completely different spin on the whole destined lovers trope. Trust me, you've never seen a romance quite like this. Loriokun. Loriokun is making an adult webcomic based around Zootopia called Hybrid Test. If you want some spicy furry stuff, go check it out. Shane Asher. Shane is working on the webcomic called The Strays. This comic tickles a personal fancy of mine, which is a superhero comic with anthropomorphic characters. It is a comic with a lot of charm, so go check it out. Kathy Catlin. Kathy is working on a webcomic known as Alien Shores. Max Owen has a comfortably average life planned out until his engagement implodes. Angry and disillusioned, he quits graduate school and moves away to start over. Ironically, he finds someone from the past who he thought he'd never see again. While rebuilding their relationship, Max joins a band on a whim and begins chasing fame and fortune. In 2040's Denver, however, Max and his new friends face more than the usual sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Nate Tunes. Nate doesn't want me to push anything, they just want me to make sure to quote them saying, "Please support this beautiful bald Viking." Yes, they did actually say that. And I also just want to give a huge shout out to Henry Volt, Sebastian Valborg, KH Vaffiel, Amy Comics, Kawhi Lee, Touched, Thomas Nostar, Shiv, Scott Fraser, and Drika in the Voxel Mine. And also a huge thank you to all the lovely people that you see here on screen. If you want to support the show, change my life and make it so I can make YouTube full time and entertain you people full time, please go to my Patreon. Here you can donate anything you want every month and you'll get a ton of awesome rewards for it. Just go to www.patreon.com/Riiser and remember that's with 2 I's. It's also important to note that you can cancel your subscription at any time. If you don't have the money, you can just, make it so that it doesn't donate for that period of time. Like, you can customize it to the point where it doesn't bother you all that much. You can also go to TeePublic and get your hands on some of the new Webcomic Relief merch that you can find in there. We've gotten 3 new designs by the Webcomic Relief community, so go and check it out, because there's some really cool stuff there. If you don't want to support the show financially, at least think about liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or sharing your favorite Webcomic Relief episode with your friends. I'll see you guys at the next Webcomic Relief. Take care.